I have a new fancy camera, so I might start using it in the kitchen. I do a lot of things in the kitchen. I don't know how often I would upload those things, though. When I'm in the kitchen, as you'll see, I don't use any recipes by design. I tend to create by what I might call intuition. So if I do mention measurements here, it might be our silly imperial measurement, but I won't do it very often, and actually measurements aren't particularly useful for me. Anyway, how to make butter without making a mess. If you've tried making butter before, you found yourself in the middle of the mess, and you probably realized what problem number one was. Don't start with too much liquid. That means in your standard kitchen mixer, unless you have a commercial mixer, in your standard mixer, don't start with a quart of cream. Do maybe a pint or a little less, which is what I did here. This is probably about a pint. So that was rule number one. I'll probably come up with 4 rules here. Rule number 2 is don't do it at top speed, which is what you usually see people do this at. If you do it at top speed, sure, you're going to get this done a lot faster, but you're going to need your splash guard, and you're going to need piles of towels all around you. Do this at less than half speed, and if things start slopping up, turn it down even slower. These are the major rules to start with. Don't use a ton of liquid, and don't do it at high speed. This brings us to rule number 3. Make a quesadilla while you're waiting for the butter to churn. So get out of the fridge some of those peppers you got from the garden and the salsa you made with the tomatoes and the peppers from the garden. And this is what you do. And this might take, closer to 15 minutes instead of maybe the 8 or 9 minutes that it normally would have taken. This is how you occupy your time with a quesadilla. I can see we're getting to the whipped cream stage here, so at this point you should be just starting your quesadilla. Alright, here's the point where we would have stopped at whipped cream. It's getting close to curding and separating here. You would have stopped by now for whipped cream. Here we go. This is starting to separate between the curds and the buttermilk starting to come out. So this is rule number 4. At this point, you go for the chocolate cake that you made and a cup of coffee. This is the best time to implement that phase. Here we are with the buttermilk separating. If you tried butter before, this is the part at which you would realize what a hell you just got yourself into with it splashing all over the place. Just don't do it that fast, that's all. Do it slower. See, I turned it down just a little bit here. Go for the coffee. Now, the buttermilk is almost entirely separated here, so I'm going to extract that. The butter's going to stay clumped together pretty much here. See, no mess. You don't have mess all over the place. Keep washing your hands all the time while you're doing this too, by the way. You don't want anything foreign in here. And there you go. Now you have buttermilk, which I'm going to use in a bit to make some bread with some butter. There you go. Alright, now it's mostly butter solids, and you're going to pour some ice water in here. Don't throw the ice cubes in there. I've seen people do this. Just put the cold water in. Keep this on a low speed. What we're doing is solidifying the butter solids here. Usually, I think most people would do this multiple times, like probably around 5 times. I think I do it 2 or 3 times here. The thing is, if you're planning on having your butter last for over a week, yeah, keep going at it, pat it down, dry it. I'm gonna do it. I think I do it 2 times, maybe 3, because I'm gonna use this. This is going to last me 1 week. I'm gonna use this throughout the week, and it being moist is absolutely fine for me. Alright, here's the last separation. Now, I guess I'm trying to knock it down one more time. Once this little mix is done here, this is pretty much going to be butter solids. There we go. Butter solids. It's all in the blade here. It's all just stuck in there, which is good. That's what we want. Now here, you could place it down on some towels to help dry it out. But like I was saying, I'm going to use this within 1 week, probably even less. This is probably, in imperial weights, it might be half a pound of butter. I think it's about half a pound. So I'm going to be making cookies, and also I'm going to use this on the bread I'm eventually going to make. And I did record me making the bread, but apparently I didn't. I recorded me not making the bread. I recorded all the parts where I wasn't making bread. At least the first phase. And that's fine though, because if you watch me make bread, you'd see I don't have any rules for that in particular. I don't have any recipes. There's no guidelines. And for baking, for things like that, you pretty much need tried and true rules and recipes. I cook by what I sense is going on. And that's not what, if I upload any other videos in the kitchen, you're going to see what I'm talking about. That I interact with the food and what it tells me is going on. I don't have recipes. Alright, so I'm going to form the butter a little, and I'm going to roll it up and put it in the refrigerator. Oh, there's when I started making the bread. That's all I got of it. Here's the dough. And this has buttermilk and butter in it. And I was going for something, I wanted it to be almost biscuit-like, and I got pretty close, but it still came out fairly light and fluffy, which I wasn't aiming for. It's still yummy, but it came out a little lighter and fluffier than I was aiming for. I wanted it to be a little more stiff. And I did grease the pan. That's something I don't usually do with bread, but in this case I wanted to bake it for a while at a lower temperature. So I wanted it to be able to sit in the pan without sticking, and actually have that grease on the outside kind of fried up a little on the outside for crispiness. That worked out fine in this. It just came out lighter and fluffier, like a standard white bread than I'd want it to. And keep washing your hands. I highly suggest using your hands as much as you can for everything, so that you can feel what's going on. But also just keep washing your hands over and over and over again. Oh, there's the butter. Now that's been in the fridge for a couple hours at this point. This bread probably took about 5 hours. I usually allow bread to sit for days. This one I want it fast. And I saved all that buttermilk. I might make pancakes with it later on. That'll be yummy. Anyway, that's how to make butter without making a mess. And it was super yummy, by the way.